It's time for That Was the Woke That Was.
The topical quiz show that goes through all of the wokest stories of the week.
She has been fame hungry from the get-go.
Saturdays at 9 on TalkTV. It's time for That Was the Woke That Was with Andre Walker.
Oh, hello and welcome to That Was the Woke That Was, the topical quiz show that goes through all of the wokest stories of the week. And on my team tonight, I've got Lacey Butcher, Sam Armstrong, Phil Dave, and the lovely, the beautiful Lois Perry. Let's get this party started. Bridgerton star Adjoa Andoh has been criticised for saying the Buckingham Palace balcony was terribly white during the coronation on ITV.
There is a bit of me that we've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
Good news, you two. I don't think you need to work too hard after that clip to work out if this is true or false. So, I would point out, as you rightly say, could you imagine if it was the other way around? There would be absolute hell to pay. And I would actually say quite rightly so. What I'm annoyed about is that there isn't hell to pay the fact that she said this in the first place.
I think she was just looking for something to
absolutely
say, don't
ridiculous.
you?
Well, not only that, don't you think to yourself, who on earth decided that she was perfect for royal commentary? What, but she's appeared in one drama where she played a queen. Really?
It's a stupid show as well. I mean, she seems to think that the royal family actually works like Bridgerton, which is you can take an ordinary white British aristocratic family and replace the cast members arbitrarily with black people.
It just does absolute discredit to anything else she said, because that's what's been picked up. No one else cares about anything else, be it profound or not. It's just bizarre to be commenting on the complexion or the lack thereof of someone's skin tone.
Lacey, I will give you £50
Okay.
if you can quote anything profound other than that that Adjoa Andoh has ever said.
No.
I vaguely remember her saying something like "my liege" in Bridgerton. Does that count?
She went, can I have a pizza, please? That's the only thing. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, I just wonder, though, Lois,
whether we questioned how white the pizza was going to be.
Yeah. I wonder, though, Lois, do you know, are we just throwing people in as experts on channels, including this, just on the grounds that they're famous?
And because they wanted to up their diversity quota on their panel as well. You know, a family is either white or it's black or it's mixed or whatever. I mean, my stepdad, believe it or not, is a Rasta. My sister's a mixed race. You know, but that's not for diversity reasons.
That's right.
Just because that's how it is. You know, the royal family is white. Meghan behaved like a complete, whatever, put in your own word there. So she's out. But, you know, it's her own fault.
So, OK, Bridgerton star, balcony was terribly white. Is it true or false?
Yeah. Definitely true. True.
I think we've given it away. It's true!
Hey!
OK. The US Navy has hired an active duty drag queen. Harpy Daniels will be their new digital ambassador in charge of recruiting a diverse workforce. Has diversity gone too far, Sam?
Yeah, well, look, it just depends what kind of people do you want in the Navy. And fundamentally, we forget this, of course, the job of the military is to kill people. That's its job. It is judged on how lethal it is to other people.
Yes.
And the idea that actually its diversity is the most important thing is for the birds. And it's dangerous as well, because if they make decisions on the basis of anything other than are you going to be good when your ship is being shelled.
A similar argument about social cohesion was made against the integration of white and black soldiers in the US Army. So is there no argument to say the military is a force for social cohesion?
Well, I don't even know what to say. Since when does having a dress going to make you a good soldier? Since what possible use does it make to dress a bloke up with a beard in a dress and stick him on the top of an aircraft carrier?
It worked in Scotland.
It scared the Iranians. OK, so has the US Navy had a drag queen to promote diversity?
For some ridiculous reason, this is true.
It is true!
Hey!
Sadiq Khan's new black culture advisor has been criticised for calling the Conservative Party murderers. I mean, I don't know the answer to this question, but I think we can probably guess, can't we?
I mean, sadly, I do, because this was a horrific story that popped up only a few days ago. It's Kemi, and I've forgotten her surname, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. No pun on my own name there.
Yeah.
But no, this is their new incentive. Sadiq Khan has said now that he's separating herself and drawing some divisions between
Separating herself?
Himself from her, because of these old tweets that have reappeared. Now, she called Boris Johnson the Grim Reaper. She also called Keir Starmer, I think, scab, and Tories were murderers generally. Now, this probably won't come as a surprise to anyone, but she's a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, what a surprise.
Absolutely. But no, she's still allowed to stay on board, but he has reminded her of her capacity and her role. But no, it's an absolute bizarre story that she's still been allowed to carry on in this profession and carry on with these heinous tweets still on her profile.
They're not very original insults, are they?
No. But Sadiq Khan is definitely not adverse to dealing with extremists, is he?
Well,
representing them, you mean?
I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but constantly he has people on boards who have all sorts of really, really quite disgraceful views.
Yeah, and look, Sadiq likes to present this image of a nice guy, but actually, when you look back in his history, he got into office having been a solicitor for just about every jihadi in Britain.
Yes.
He's then been in office where he's actually been a nasty factional piece of work, and you only need to get in the back of a taxi and speak to a cab driver and say to them, you know, what do you think? And they're the first to say that he's a guy who came into office saying he was going to be on the cab's side, and then he has ruined this city.
This is the other thing about him. I mean, I've met him a couple of times. He is genuinely a deeply unpleasant person to meet, and he's definitely quite factional. I mean, if you think about it, he was working for Ed Miliband during that election, and those two brothers have virtually never spoken to each other ever since, after what Sadiq had a go at David Miliband over, because he was just a massive negative campaign.
Want to shaft your brother, call Sadiq.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I must admit, I wouldn't speak to my sibling again if they ate a bacon sandwich.
I was about to say that.
Oh, God, come on.
We're better than that.
What? No, I know. But I was going to say that as far as Sadiq Khan is concerned, it amused me that when he first came to office, do you remember he sort of came in riding the crest of the wave, sort of explaining that he was a person of the people, or a man of the people, because he was a son of a busman. And I've never known someone to go from son of a busman to son of a... But anyway...
But there just seems to be no attempt by Labour politicians to do anything about this. I mean, you know, we saw this with the anti-Semitism problem, where really, you know, the bare minimum was done, but you never got the impression that there was any real interest in attempting to kick out people who had pretty nasty views.
No, I know. It's like with Diane Abbott. I mean, what she said was absolutely horrific. She's been suspended from the Parliamentary Labour Party.
She's had the whip removed.
She's had the whip removed, but she's still there. I mean, she's going around suspending Jewish organisations like the NJA, blocking them on Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, it's absolutely repulsive. And she must be just the tip of the iceberg, the absolute tip of the iceberg.
Well, I think the suggestion is that there is a culture of hatred in the Labour Party, from what I can see, where they believe their opponents to be evil, and therefore anyone who has a disagreement with them, whether that be on benefit cuts, whether that be on, I don't know, council house sales, whether that be on Israel, they literally believe are evil. And I think actually it's that sort of culture that leads to the things that you saw in the Soviet Union, you know, sort of forced labour camps, deportations and whatever, because they just believe it's their moral duty to destroy the evil of the people that they oppose.
Here we go. Come on, round of applause for that one, surely.
It's a zealotry.
I'm afraid that they just sort of can't see their own faults. It's amazing. They see their own faults in other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it is depressing to see a major political party, Lacey, that just seems to be so motivated by hatred. You know, I sometimes say, and nobody's ever been able to dissuade me of this view, that the difference between a socialist and a conservative is a conservative is motivated by love for their community, love for their family, love for society, love for whatever it is, even just the local football team, whereas socialism is motivated by hatred. You know, dislike this, smash that, destroy whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not ever what comes across in the manifestos. You know, the Tories are always portrayed to be the nasty, cruel ones, and the the Labour Party is that of love and compassion and helping down. It's just not the case. I mean, and this question shows that precisely. This is a brand new taxpayer-funded role for a black culture activist who's just spurring hate left, right and centre.
By any chance, was it open to all candidates?
Well, funnily enough, the other day on one of the TV shows I host at TalkTV, I had another Andre Walker who, for a bit of a laugh, who's a black guy from Georgia in the United States of America. And what, the point that he made was that, we shouldn't have all these black advisor, race this and whatever. The fundamental problem very often with the black community in the Western world is that they live in city centres and the local schools are rubbish. And you turn around and you say to yourself, well, hang on a second, wouldn't it be better, rather than pulling down statues and having a race advisor, whether we should actually give these people a decent education?
Yeah, well, look, the toolbox of the left is to invent grievances where none exist. Now, that's what they have to do. They have to foment all of these problems all the time, day in, day out. And I just think it's outrageous that the London Assembly, and by the way, there is meant to be a whole legislative assembly who we pay thousands upon thousands each to scrutinise Sadiq Khan. They're so in hock to him now, and they've moved out of the glass testicle, as they call it, on the South Bank, and moved it down the river. They just never challenge him on any of this stuff. And I think if Sadiq Khan was actually subjected to some scrutiny, including by the mainstream media, you would see him really begin to wilt away.
I've got to say to you, I used to be the Deputy Chief of Staff to the Conservatives on the London Assembly, and I'm sorry to say, and I think people work incredibly hard at the London Assembly, it is a toothless tiger. It has really almost no powers whatsoever. What it can do is it can insist that the Mayor comes and answers some questions. They vote on the budget, but apart from that, they really can't do anything. I personally think they should just abolish it. I'll tell you what I would do. I don't mind the idea of having the leaders of London councils in there and having a certain ability to veto certain policies. Yeah. But anyhow, right, has Sadiq Khan's black culture advisor called the Conservative murderers?
Sadly.
It's true. We're killers, cold-blooded.
It's absolutely true! OK, police officers are threatening to sue the force after bosses introduced new guidelines banning beards and moustaches. Is that true or false?
Is this to the men or the women?
Yeah. I have to say, this might be me being a bit old-fashioned, a bit sad or whatever. When I see police officers with big tattoos and beards and all that sort of thing, I do think it's inappropriate.
Yeah, but just think what this is going to do to the village people. I mean, all those costumes are going to be absolutely ruined. They have moustaches in the apparently, so I've been told by my friends. Yeah. So,
but the village people now are alive and well, and they're in the US Navy, aren't they?
Dressed as women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, seriously, what do you think?
Well, look, here's my thinking: is that if I thought for a second that the police's only problem in this day and age was their appearance, I could almost believe this. Yeah. But let's be honest, they seem to find it quite hard to distinguish what constitutes as criminal damage, what constitutes as a public nuisance, and what actually constitutes as an opportunity to do the Macarena and rainbows. So I would be inclined to think that this can't possibly be true because there's just... There just can't be a problem.
But Phil, is there no argument that says that maintaining professional standards is actually something that gives a culture to the force that's going to be helpful? I mean, I appreciate you've effectively dismissed the idea of being overly worried about beards and moustaches, but I think standards in of themselves is a complaint.
Yeah, like your school uniform.
Yeah,
but now look, what happens if you do sort of have a school uniform that's not quite sort of properly done? People can be head teachers. You've seen been lambasted for having the audacity to go up to a pupil and saying, tuck your shirt in, and because then that pupil ends up in therapy.
Well, that's why I sent my daughter to the strictest Roman Catholic girls' school that I could find, and her life is hell, and she loves it. They're very strict, but it makes that she's happier with it. She's happier.
Aren't we just forgetting that the police have massively lost their way and that there are significant problems within policing in this country? I'm very worried about policing because I think that the standards have dropped, and I think in general we see like Phil said, the priorities are completely wrong. I was gutted, and I know a lot of people saw it, where there was a white van driver of some description who attempts to remove the signage from somebody blocking the street. That is not a protest, it's disruption.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Actually, can we just say about that chap, sorry, I mean, I know that sort of necessarily we don't encourage anything that breaks the law, but can we just have a round of applause for that chap?
Yeah, we can.
He's doing what the police should be doing, frankly. And we've seen actually with the coronation, right? We actually recently saw this with the coronation. The police can come down heavy when they want to. They can also apologise for it afterwards as well. But, you know, at least they can.
But I thought on that issue of the police coming down heavy, we saw the police, raid and arrest Tommy Robinson on multiple occasions. Now, whether they were right or wrong is a matter for debate. But at the same time, they argued that they were unable to do anything to Anjam Chowdhury because they were breaching his human rights. And you think, well, hang on a second. I don't understand how these two people who are two sides of the argument, how one of them we can manage to raid their house on a regular basis, and the other one you can't do anything at all. And of course, in the end, it turned out that Anjam Chowdhury was absolutely guilty of all the allegations that were made against him.
No one saw that coming.
And also, Lee Anderson, MP, the Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, was, as has been said before, absolutely right. The police do actually have the powers currently to remove people from the road of public obstruction. He was lampooned for that, but he was absolutely right.
But Lois, what the left have successfully done is argued that we're restricting their right to protest. Now, when I looked at all these new ideas of things like you can't stand outside a butcher's every day for a month with a megaphone, that's not a protest. That is a deliberate attempt to shut that business down by intimidating people.
No, absolutely right. And, when people are trying to get to work or people have got, an ambulance trying to get through or whatever, it's not protest. It's actually, it's actually trying to destroy people's lives.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, because I'd love to give a bit of context to this story, because it's actually a really, really fascinating one. So this comes from police in Scotland. And the masks that are actually in question, the reason why they're not allowed facial hair is because they've got a certain mask. It's called the FFP3. Now, what this is a dust mask. So what they're suggesting is they're kind of comparing it to what they do like in the military, where you're not allowed to do it because of the gas mask and you need tight sealage.
Yes.
Sealage, that's a word, right?
Well,
it is now.
Scotland to try and crack down on crime is to shave off your beards and moustaches in the name of dust masks. Now that's just absolutely bizarre. But what I do understand is the idea of having some kind of regiment and uniformity and having everyone quite pristine, because people, especially in Scotland, don't look at the police as any kind of threat anymore. I seriously think we've lost respect and authority towards the police, and I think it's something that's especially pressing in Scotland itself.
But, Lacey, can you imagine how frustrated those officers must be? They survived COVID wearing masks,
I know.
and now they've got to shave their beards.
Absolutely.
But isn't there a bit of a gender imbalance here, which is to say the police are more than happy to say that a bloke needs to shave off his beard and a moustache, but can you imagine them for a moment turning around to lady policemen and saying that, you need to pull your hair, you need to pull your hair back, you need to wear makeup, you need to shave your legs?
I do think that we quite like to see people well dressed. I'll tell you something, when you're talking about uniforms, and I know that Lois raised this, I genuinely think that with school uniforms, that actually protects some of the poorer people in our society, because you can buy school trousers for a child for maybe £5 or £6 in some supermarkets. But when people start wearing fashionable stuff, when people move away from the uniform policy, then actually it starts to become a fashion parade.
Yeah, and one of the things we saw with the coronation were the old-fashioned police uniforms and how smart policemen used to look with the big pith helmets and the truncheons and the jackets to do up at the front. They now look sort of like they're pretend going into combat, dressed up as they're running around.
I don't like that paramilitary look. No. It's not great, is it? And it is quite intimidating.
It's what the
so transatlantic, honestly. They've so clearly been watching too much LAPD or whatever the heck it is. But actually, in all seriousness, I assume there has to be a bit of an exception here, because what about those officers who, and there are religions that believe in this, who it's actually sacrilege to shave and to cut your hair. So what are they going to do with them?
But actually, there are exemptions, aren't there, for Sikhs in particular? Sikh police officers, I think, as long as they've got a beard, they can wear a turban, because obviously, if they didn't have the beard, then they weren't actually observing the religion anyway. Okay, so police officers are threatening to sue their own force on the grounds of being forced to remove beards and moustaches. Is it true or false?
So here's the thing. Even though I think the directive is misguided in so much as that I believe there are more important things for the police to worry about at the moment, it's the wording of the question, the fact that police officers are threatening to sue. And therefore, I would think that as we live in a culture where most people sue, I'm going to say true.
Yeah, we're quite litigious nowadays, aren't we? Another horrible thing from the States. Yeah, let's say true.
Shall we say true?
It is true!
Hey!
That was The Woke That Was continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
Excuse me? Police officers in Scotland are being forced to shave off their beards. Do you believe that's a good thing?
Sure, why not?
You look like you very rarely shave. That is it's like a baby's bum.
Yeah, asking the wrong person on this question.
We've asked the only man in London who doesn't shave about beards. Oh! Police have been told to shave off their beards. Do you believe that's a good thing?
No, I love beards. I think they're sexy.
Do you?
Yeah, that's why he has a beard.
Can I stroke it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Whereabouts are you actually from?
Colombia.
Colombia. I know it very well, actually. I spent some time on San Andreas Island, and then I was elected as a tribal chief of the Rizal people, whose principal political view is that they want to become British again. Police officers have been ordered to shave off their beards in Scotland. Do you believe that's a good thing or a bad thing?
What? I'm too hungover for this.
So am I. Police Scotland want to ban their police officers from having beards. Is that a good or a bad thing?
Who cares?
I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I'm going to say I hate Sadiq Khan.
Well, that would have been a better opener, wouldn't
All
it?
right, come on, let's talk about Sadiq Khan. So, do you believe Sadiq Khan has been a good mayor of London?
No.
University of the Arts of London has removed the word woman from its maternity leave policy. It now says all genders. Oh. I just hope this is false. I really do.
Where would... do you want to go...
I mean, where do you even start? What do you have to do as a bloke to qualify for the new maternity? Well, I've had a bit too much fibre recently. Go to the loo. It's a bit difficult.
Well,
and
Sam,
do I qualify for 9 months off work?
But Sam, I remember reading that that Heriot Watt University in Edinburgh, in their maternity department, had warned students in official documents that some women giving birth may have not yet had their penis and testicles removed because they were pre-op transsexuals. Now, what lunacy is that? The idea that just to be clear, everyone, that can't be true at all. But actually, they did do that, and it's in the name of diversity. It's in the name of inclusivity. But bluntly, men and women are different.
Yeah, and who's calling for this? Who wants this? Where is the army of pre-op trans women that are saying that I am pregnant and I do need support? It's ridiculous.
Something according to the latest census, if I'm not very much mistaken, and forgive me if my numbers aren't completely spot on, but I do vaguely remember the percentage of the population who have identified as a different gender to when they were born is something like 0.58% of the population. Yeah. So I don't mean to be rude, but really, all of this is necessary.
It's being stoked.
Well, you say that, but that would be 1 in 200 people. So that's a pretty big number, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but...
What about the rest of the 199 of us that has to continue?
In that case, can I just say, I've obviously forgotten a 0 then.
Oh, right.
I tell you nothing, it ain't 1 in 200.
Yeah, absolutely. But I tell you
That's why I did say I apologise in advance if my percentage isn't spot on, but I know it's a very, very small percentage.
I just want to ask Lois, is there a war on women?
No, there's a war on absolutely everybody at the moment. Everybody is being turned against everybody else, and I believe these culture wars have been deliberately stoked. Who knows why? But things are going on in the background that aren't being discussed in the media. For example, a British central digital currency is actually coming in at the moment. It's all been signed off. Rishi Sunak has signed it all off. No one's talking about it. We're talking about blokes with beards or going into little girls' toilets, or having a penis and giving birth. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I just wonder, with all of this attempt to divide society, where some of it is just completely made up. I mean, we saw an instance a couple of years ago when a group of young people were running down the street in Downing and got to Downing Street and saw a group of police officers guarding Downing Street and spat in their face for the way that they regularly shoot black young people. That is a problem in the United States of America. These police officers have got nothing to do with that whatsoever, and yet there is now a protest against them, and indeed spitting in the face, which can be dangerous because it can transmit disease, over something that they simply have nothing to do with.
But how can you blame younger people for thinking like this? Because all they hear, whether it be on social media, whether it be in the news, whatever it is, all they're constantly being fed is how evil the police are, how racist the police are.
I'm not so generous to them, Phil, because I believe that, 40, 50 years ago, there was a generation of young people that had real injustices to fight, and they were doing something, and it was impressive. Civil rights movement, the works. And today's generation of young people have inherited all of their good work, and they live in a broadly equal, broadly free society with nothing really to campaign against. And what they can't do is recognise that actually, unlike the generation before them, all they're really being asked to do is go out, get a job, contribute to society. So instead what they do is they figment up these preposterous causes and then demand that all of us take account of them.
But can I just say something? I'm inclined completely to agree with you, but my mum and my little brother is 6 foot something and in his late 20s. He's mixed race, yeah. Him and my mum were having an argument walking down the street, and he's a big guy, and my mum's little and white. And honestly, within 2-3 seconds, the police have pulled up. Is he bothering you? Yeah. And my mum said, no, this is my son. So, so I am look, I'm 100% inclined to agree with you, but my little brother literally raised his voice to my mum walking down the street and the police stopped.
I do think you've got a serious point, though, because now they're just finding things to make issue with. And for goodness sake, this question, it's maternity leave. It's not paternity leave. And let's be frank, if you're complaining about what the sign at work or the university says woman, whilst you've got a newborn child at home, you've got bigger problems at hand.
But look, very quickly before we move on, I just want to know whether what is happening is we worked so hard to get society to come together. Are we now just deliberately fracturing society?
Well, I think there's people that always go... No one's ever going to be completely content. And I think you just made a beautiful point there when you said that because we fought so hard for these injustices to be right, now we're going so far the other way that it's actually now becoming quite divisive. And it's a terrible thing. But, God knows where we're going to end up and how many other ludicrous conversations we're going to have.
It's frankly symptomatic of the fact that society has suddenly started pandering to the minority and not working with the majority.
Absolutely.
And that is the problem.
Amen to that, brother. Yeah. OK, so has the University of Arts London removed women from its maternity leave policy?
I mean, hand on heart, I pray that this isn't true.
Likewise.
I really do.
Do you want to go with your heart or your head?
I better go with our head. I'm going to say it's true.
So true.
It's true.
Oh, no, you're joking.
The Food Standards Agency has said that bringing cakes to the office encourages people to eat sugar and should be banned because that's as bad as passive smoking. I've been out and about asking people whether cakes should be banned from the office. Do you believe that it's bad to take cakes into the office?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it helps people to eat more sweet things and they put on weight and...
Hey, why are you looking at me when you say put on weight?
Well,
I've never really been into eating cakes, and I was working in an office and there was definitely social pressure.
The Food Standards Agency has said that people shouldn't bring cakes into the office on the grounds that they're unhealthy. Do you think cakes are a bad thing?
No.
Why not? Do you want one?
You're dead right, I do, yeah.
Right, what flavour do you want?
Oh, no, what with choice here,
If you eat just a small piece of cake, it does you wonders, and we have fruit filling in a lot of our cakes as well, in the centre of it, so it's delicious, and it's not too much at a time.
Do you think it's right that the Food Standards Agency wants to ban cake from offices?
No.
Why?
Because people have a free will. I think they're very nice cakes.
Do you want one?
Yes, please.
Go for it.
Just the one.
OK, well, I wasn't offering you two. What if they say that you do feel a social pressure to eat them?
Then you're mad.
Give me the cake and I'll tell you.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Oh, can I have a sup of your can?
You can if you want.
Oh, fantastic. Cheers, mate. Oh, I've not had special brew in ages. Would you like a bite of my cake?
No, thank
Why
you.
Why not? It's tasty.
Because your mouth is maybe dirty.
Where do you think my mouth's been?
You know where.
On my face, that's all. It's done nothing in my mouth.
Let me see your eyes. Oh my God, you've done so many bad things today.
Just a small amount. Hello, would you like some cake?
Yes.
Bite my cake. Bite my cake. Oh, there we go. We've lost it. Bit more.
What's in it?
Bit more. It's nothing's in it. It's fine. It's good. Do you not like it?
It's all right.
It's not bad, that is it?
Delicious.
Thank you very much. Have a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Open the mouth.
Yeah, go on. Oh, there we go. Well done. Oh, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, very strange, very interesting. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got cake on my face. Look at that. Can you get it off?
didn't see it.
Can you just get it off? Get it off. Just get it off. Oh, come on, just lick it off. It'll be all right.
Lick it off. Oh, now you've crossed the boundary now.
Okay.
If there was a bit of a tissue, I might think, but no.
Well, I think it's fair to say that the good people of Ealing do not want cake banned in the office. And as they say in these parts, you can take our cake, but you cannot take our freedom!
What's in it?
Nothing's in it. It's fine. It's good. Do you not like it? Oh, there we go. Well done.
Very strange, very interesting.
Oh my God, you've done so many bad things today.
That Was the Woke That Was continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was the Woke That Was.
Well, the BBC is 100 years old, so I've been out and about asking people whether we should abolish the licence fee and stop sending these people an absolute truckload of money. YouTube star Maya Toosey, should the BBC be reformed?
Reform, abolish, destroy, that's not going to change anything because the new media is destroying the BBC and the mainstream media. Of course, there's absolutely no point in having an old school model. It's an analog world that's trying to live in the digital era, and it has to go. And there's no, if these idiots are saying that, you know, we are talented, our content is amazing, well, if it's so good, the demand is there. People will pay for it, either adverts or through subscription.
So there should be more advertising in TV.
Okay, why?
They're entertaining. It's more entertaining often than the programs.
Oh, come on, that's a bit cheeky. You're saying the BBC programmes are less interesting than the adverts on Channel 4?
It's been around a long time and it's meant to be reasonably impartial, but...
Is it impartial, though?
No.
How do we deal with that problem?
I don't know, you change the rules or something, but, you know, there are some people at the BBC who don't behave in the way they should.
Do you think it's important to retain the licence fee, or should we consign it to the history books?
I think, we need to get rid of that.
Do you think that now it's time to change the funding model? The licence fee's been around for quite a long time.
Under quite a bit of pressure. I think it should be just discretionary. You know, for those people that want to use it, then fair enough. But I think for a lot of people, that probably it's time for that, I would have thought.
It's the time to abolish the licence fee. What are you going to replace it with?
I don't know, a subscription model?
You're probably not going to get the same quality of high-level programming, would be my guess. Many people watch the BBC partly because they don't get the advertising. I don't listen to some radio stations because I get fed up with the advertising.
If more people at the BBC were like you, it would definitely survive for another 100 years.
You think so? Well, I just been hired, and I hope they don't get rid of me after this interview. But I just want to say, I've got just a cucumber that I was about to eat when you stopped me.
Okay, well, eat your cucumber. There we go. Can I have a bite of your cucumber? Can I bite?
Yes, you can. You know, this is all about being open-minded, guys, and sharing is caring.
They don't realise that things have moved on. You know, you can have amazing new shows like That Was the Woke That Was.
Do you think the BBC is a waste of money?
I don't think it's a waste of money. I think maybe you should just change your subscription model.
I mean, how else are they going to fund things like this egg over here?
The egg looks great. Let's get a view. Let's get a view of the egg.
Paper mache.
So the BBC licence fee is the goose that laid the golden egg, and always remember that's going to be served for Gary Lineker's Christmas dinner. Ugh, horrendous. All on Match of the Day. Well, we've had some BBC journalists who've admitted the funding mechanism needs to change, but none of them have told me about the BBC canteen. So it's time to have a bit of food. Turkey Twizzler and chips. Yum yum. Activists from Just Stop Oil are running training courses on mindfulness to help new members cope with being shouted at.
I'm the one shouting at them. Excellent.
What upsets me about this is the idea that they are literally ruining everyone's day. They are literally disrupting the place. They are literally destroying people's economic prosperity and in some cases actually damaging their health by stopping ambulances getting to hospitals. And they're the ones now who are trying to teach themselves how to cope with it.
But to be fair, I'm sure that it must be quite traumatic, really, just staring a car bumper in the face all day long. That must really get to you after a while.
Well, they've all been brainwashed as well, and some of them aren't the full Bob. To be fair, are they?
Well, the other thing is, of course, Lois. That, the other thing is that they can't have a relaxing bath because they only do that once a year, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, you don't want to damage the environment, and of course, they have to be permanently nude. They have to walk everywhere because they don't want to have any carbon footprint, do they?
Sure, actually. How did these people get to say, for example, the M25? You know, when they blocked the bridge, because no pedestrians are allowed on the M25.
There's a simple answer to that. They're absolute hypocrites, aren't they?
Yeah,
they say one thing and do another. But if this is true, and I pray that it is, it's brilliant because that means that we're actually getting back at them. They're getting a taste of their own medicine. That's a delicious slice of karma, I'd say.
You often wonder whether lettuce, Bourbon, Buchanan, Smythe is privileged or not. And you think, I'm not being funny, but there's very few people called that round our way.
And the only time I've ever actually sort of truly tried to speak to protesters was there was a massive demonstration taking place in Parliament Square, and I actually did a report for TalkTV on it live there, and unfortunately the only response I got when they were genuinely being asked half-decent questions was to swear back. So naturally, of course, we had to snip that bit out. But I just thought if your only argument is to block roads and swear at people who want a genuine debate on this subject, then you've kind of lost your argument.
Maybe they do need the mindfulness training then.
Well, quite actually, that's obviously how much anger I'd invoked within.
Go out go out for a few hours, sit in traffic, do some yoga, sat there. It's a good day out.
Maybe that's actually what it is. Maybe they're not blocking the road at all. They've just been late for their yoga classes all this time.
But Sam, I want to ask you this because I've really not got this nailed in my own mind about this idea of to what extent people are being dragged along with it. Because I always give this example, so apologies for giving it again, of the people from Extinction Rebellion who went to the protest and then went to McDonald's. And I actually think that is quite a rational thing to do. The reason is because there is so much discrimination against anybody who doesn't hold these views at universities that actually what you do is just play along with it, and then when nobody's looking, go and do what you're actually interested in, which is going to McDonald's and having a laugh with your mates. And so I just wonder whether there's an element of just people being forced into doing stuff they don't believe in, which may explain why Dave, why Dave couldn't get an argument out of him.
I mean, you can call me Phil if you'd rather.
Phil, which is why Phil couldn't get an argument out of him.
Yeah, fundamentally, I think it's just a bit of a hobby for some people. I mean, some people like going and playing with toy soldiers. Some people like playing sports. Some people like playing shoot 'em up in the woods, running around the countryside. Basically, people in this country, airsoft.
We're getting a peek into your mind.
I think people fundamentally want to go out, do something at the weekend with their mates, go and do an activity that's normally quite daft, quite boring for a lot of people, and then afterwards go out for a drink. I think it's a day out. The trouble is, it's interfering with everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be people who are going to think that what you've just said is preposterous, and I think it is preposterous in a sense, but I don't think it's untrue. I think the idea of let's have a bit of a get together. It's all good fun. What my idea of fun is not sitting on a motorway glued to it. But you can understand that'd be quite exciting. But of course, the best bit of it is you get your phone out and go, right, I'm campaigning against slavery. This was made by a 10-year-old.
I suppose there's only so much daytime telly these people can watch, to be fair. So maybe they just have to give themselves a hobby.
Well, they clearly don't need to work, do they? Because otherwise they'd be at work. Although they do pay a lot of these protesters. I think my understanding it's 36 grand a year.
What?
Well,
yeah.
I just want to quickly ask you this: that Are these young people because there is a correlation between privilege and getting involved in all this. Are they effectively doing this because they're so privileged that they've got the time to do it? Or is this a really good way of mitigating their future careers? So if you think about it, if you're going to work in the city, if you're going to make an awful lot of money, if you're going to have a 5-bedroom house in the home counties, then actually, why not protest for a couple of years, get that out of the way, make it look like you care, and then you don't have to care for the rest of your life?
Yeah, you just need one good bath and you're ready to enter the real world.
But you know, ultimately, Sam, people who are complaining about slavery 200 years ago, you know, they don't have to worry now about the fact their iPhones might have been made using, well, at least very low-paid workers. The fact that the cobalt in their battery, in their car battery, was probably mined by children, and you know, it goes on and on and on. But of course, by arguing about what happened in Virginia 200 years ago, they don't have to worry about what's going on now.
And there is never, ever, 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 ever a single protest outside the Chinese embassy where they have 1 million Muslims in concentration camps.
That's right.
Where is the outrage?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Okay, so have our activists from Just Stop Oil decided that they're going to start teaching about mindfulness?
False.
False.
It's true!
Oh, no!
That was The Woke That Was, continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
Well, a Conservative MP has proposed that Harry and Meghan lose their royal titles. I've been out and about in London to ask people whether they agree. There's been a motion in Parliament to remove Harry and Meghan's titles. Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
Good. I mean, I love Harry. I love his mum. His mum was actually a beautiful person, but she is just a money-greedy, horrible person.
But Harry compared Meghan to Princess Diana.
No chance. She's just a greedy woman. Her dad got her educated to be where she is now. She completely abandoned her father. Disgusting.
Should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? Come on, I'll run with you.
Not. I totally disagree.
Why not?
I'm sorry, I'm really in a hurry.
No, I'm running too. I'm beating you. I'm outpacing you. Look at the size of me.
I'm not sure why the politicians are spending time on the monarchy, at the monarchy, right?
Do you think it's fair to call them whinge and ginge?
I haven't given them that title. I'm not sure which paper. Have you just given them that title?
Yeah, just made it up. Made it up.
People say.
Toot, 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 toot. No, it's like this. I can do it properly. A source close to the Prime Minister told me earlier that I just made it up in the pub. This is Andre Walker pretending to be Jonathan Pye. All right, come on, let's run together. Come on, we'll go together. Come on. Run like the wind. Run like the wind. So you're currently live on TV in 15 different countries.
Jesus Christ.
No, don't swear.
Oh, sorry. I think it's time to leave him alone.
And I think it's time I left you alone as well. But I'll still outpace you. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. There's a Conservative MP that wants to strip them of their titles. Do you think that should go through?
There are children currently starving to death and living in poverty. They are stupid to be concentrating on the wrong things. That's it.
Should Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles?
My view is that they should do whatever they think is right, but they shouldn't come back to the UK.
Seems to be a bit of a vendetta against Meghan, but I don't know. I don't know her personally, so I just...
What about you?
I mean, I'm in the disabolish the monarchy kind of camp, so
Right.
it doesn't... Title doesn't bring nothing to me, you know what I mean?
So in that case, can I ask you this question? Is the part of the problem here that we're in this ludicrous situation with a family ruling the country and their personal problems become the issues that affect Britain?
Oh, 100%. Like, it's just a family airing a dirty laundry, you know what I mean?
I can speak Bengali, Hindi.
Bengali? I can sing in Bengali.
sing
I'm not
in
joking.
Bengali?
Ori champagne wala tiomore korale devana ori champagne wala. It means hello, Mr. Boatman in Bengali.
Look, I've got some tortilla from Selfridges and it's not even very nice.
Tortilla from Selfridges?
Yeah.
You don't look like you've got a couple of quid. You look like you're ex-services and you're struggling a bit.
No, I'm definitely not ex-services.
You don't look ex-services. You look like the honey monster.
I'm sorry, what?
I want my honey.
I'm only 24, mate. I don't know that reference.
Young people, also known as Gen Z, are they called, think phone calls are microaggressions and trigger anxiety. They want everyone to send voice notes instead. I've got to be honest with you. I do prefer voice notes
Yeah.
to phone calls.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And I think I'm technically Gen Z. I think I'm on the cusp.
Okay.
I know I'm really showing my age here, aren't I?
Well, when you say showing your age, normally that means you're actually old.
I know, it's the other way around this time. No, but I do kind of understand this. So I don't particularly like speaking on the phone. I mean, unless it's someone I know I absolutely can't get a hold of, then yeah, sure, pick up the phone and then you actually get something sorted. But no, voice notes, so much better, so much more effective. You can always hit the person at the other end and there's no signal issues. Yeah, why not?
But if you don't use voice notes, receiving them becomes extremely annoying.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, but in regards to phone calls being, what did you say, microaggressive? Oh,
I don't know what to tell you.
No, but you know, actually, it's not true because I don't mean that the story's not true. It's not true in so much as that a phone call is necessarily going to be more aggressive than an actual voice note, because I distinctly remember having a good old row with someone who will remain completely nameless. I'll tell you off air. But let me just put it this way. I properly fought with them over voice notes.
Did
literally
you?
sending back and forward,
Like a
sending these
joust?
voices. And there was proper aggression in the voice notes. In fact, actually, I
Some of them
sort
really
of felt
hurt my
quite
feelings,
triggered.
Phil.
You were
Some of them really hurt my feelings.
But actually, you know, I just wonder whether there's just a level of mental health problems now that come from social media and whatever, and that actually we're ignoring that as the bigger issue.
And can I say, I think there's a real issue here, actually. I mean, I've spent my entire career working in journalism and politics, both businesses in which you need to talk to people.
Yes.
And new staff, time after time, come out of university and you say, can you go and get this organised? And they will sit there sending emails all day for something that could be done over the phone. And they can't get their head around the fact that, you know, most of life is about relationships. It's about having a conversation, getting something done. And they're really being failed to be set up by universities for the real life.
Funnily enough, we've got a mutual friend, I won't say who it is, who says that he's now got a quota of state school pupils that he has to bring into his company. And obviously, he's in quite a privileged job. And what he said was, he said the result of that is that we are shining up bad schools. Because actually, the kids from a lot of these state schools don't have the quality of the education that the private schools do. And actually, we're taking them on anyway and having to retrain them. Anyway, that's...
Because I think I've just worked out the answer to the question. I think I've got it now. We all grew up when you had a landline and if your parents can be bothered to pay for who's calling you, you'd pick it up blindly, right? I think now, because everyone's grown up and they know who's calling and who to ignore, I think that's where it's come from. I think I've solved it.
That's a very, very good point. But anyway, do we believe? Do we believe? Get out of it. Right? Look, I was being polite, right? Do we believe that phone calls are microaggressions and young people now want to just have voice notes?
I think they do
got to
think
say, this
that.
has definitely got to be true, sadly.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true. Congratulate our winners, which is Sam and Lacey. And they're going to win, get this, a Shetland pony. Congratulations. It was left in an animal sanctuary in Shetland, and that is a bit lame. But if you are willing to pay the vet's fees, then it is yours. The vet's fees are going to be around £1,500. OK, so also thanks to Phil, Dave and Lois Perry.
Thank you.
I'm off now to coronate myself as Henry VIII. Goodbye.
Hey!